so I'm pretty late to the party, but probably most of you have already noticed this little Korean show that's apparently jumping out of everyone's fridge right now. I had no idea what it was about. From the trailer and what I saw on Netflix, it seemed like just typical thriller survival type of story. But then I quickly realized, hey, it's basically Battle Royale, just in Korean this time.
Battle Royale is a Japanese novel by Koshun Takami, published in 1999. It actually first appeared in 1997 during Japan Horror Fiction Awards. Despite its huge popularity a few years later after it was actually published, it didn't win this contest. It was declined in the final round and eventually no one won that year. The jury rejected this work, even though they all admitted it was the best one. They thought it was too controversial and gory. They praised the psychological portrayals of the characters and the storyline, but at the time, a story about teenagers killing each other off with gruesome details was apparently too much.
Well, that didn't last very long, in mass media at least. But even in the world of literature I call bullshit, because Edogawa Rampo and his caterpillar was a thing way before, and it was way more fucked up than Battle Royale or even Squid Game.
Despite the criticism though, Battle Royale became a viral hit in Japan anyways. It was even translated into many other languages, and the movie as well as a manga series was created based off of it.
And the weird thing is that in Poland, where I'm from, the book didn't come out until this year. But regardless of that, the term Battle Royale existed in the popular culture, even though most people didn't even know what the original story was. So basically, I didn't know it was a novel, but I knew it was a story about a bunch of people killing each other off. And yeah, when this appeared on my doorstep, I was like, oh, so that's where it comes from. So it's actually a story, not just a genre.
I feel like it was never that popular outside of Asia, or at least not in Europe, even though it was crazy popular in Japan, regardless of the controversies that it created. The general plot of Battle Royale is something you might have seen multiple times by now, though it was one of the first one like this. It's hard to say that it was the original one that did this type of storyline, as it's not really that unique, to be honest. It's not hard to believe that multiple people could come up with the same idea of a group of people in a battle to kill each other. I've never read it, but Lord of the Flies is often quoted as another book in this kind of genre, let's say, and came out many years before Battle Royale.
But Battle Royale was definitely the first one to be as popular as it was, to the extent that even in countries that the book didn't come out and wasn't popular on its own, the term was still there, like the people were aware of the Battle Royale craze and Battle Royale genre of movies and TV shows that came out after. And it ingrained itself so much in the pop culture that Battle Royale became less of a title of a book, but more of a genre. And people knew more or less what kind of a plot point it's going to be. And with Squid Game being so crazy popular right now, I actually think it's going to have a very similar influence on popular culture, like globally. I hope it's going to bring Battle Royale genre back. First though, let's talk about the ancestor of Squid Game. I can imagine this brick of a book can seem quite intimidating, but in my experience, you fly through it. It's basically 700 pages of murderous teenagers killing each other off, so...
Maybe I just like bloodshed a bit too much.
Anyways, it's actually very engaging, and I read this whole thing in like 3 days.
Okay.
But really, it's written in a way so you wouldn't get bored at all, and it didn't age the best. Well, it was written more than 20 years ago, so obviously some things are not very up to date. To me, mainly the portrayal of women, or the fact that some people were just indestructible for whatever reason, even though they were just 15 years old. And the fact that the main character was loved by every girl in the school. Almost every female character was in love with the main boy.
But that being said, the psychological portrayals of people in extreme situations and how their behavior changed under so much pressure and fear was something unique at the time, and even though the book was deemed controversial due to the gory scenes involving teenagers, it was still widely praised for the interesting analysis of the psyche of the characters. The story itself takes place in a dystopian version of Japan, where the country needs to keep the military service at the best level due to constant pressure from other countries. Or that's how it seems from the story. The whole political system was never described with details, but this is the exact reason the government in the story gives to the citizens as to why they need to organize a military test each year. This test involves one randomly chosen class of third years from junior high school that is kidnapped and then forced to kill each other off in a controlled and closed-off environment. The kids are being monitored by a host of the whole event, an eccentric teacher weirdo with a morbid humor who is going to shoot anyone at any time. The kids taking part in the test are given a random weapon each, from a gun to a kitchen knife, and then they are let out on the island, with the only rule being that they can't be on the restricted regions of this island once they are closed off. If they step into them or try to escape the island altogether, the collars that they have on their necks would explode, killing them on the spot. Other than that, anything else is allowed, as long as they keep killing each other one after the other until only one of them is still standing.
Even for those who didn't read Battle Royale itself, it must seem oddly familiar. Right? After the book came out and ventured outside of Japan, even though it wasn't that popular outside of Asia in general, at some point this little franchise called Hunger Games came out with a very similar plot points to the Battle Royale. Weirdly similar, huh? It seems like Collins got inspired by Battle Royale, doesn't it? Yeah, but the thing is, she claims she didn't. She claims she's never read this, and she came up with the idea completely on her own.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
I smell bullshit, Collins. And as I said, the general idea of Battle Royale is not that original that I wouldn't believe that two people could come up with very similar things at the same time. But the thing is, she even took minor themes from this book in her own novel.
The restricted sections of the islands are there. Eccentric host is there, the bird signal is there, previously winners coming back to the game are also there. I mean, the two stories starts to differ at some point, and Hunger Games becomes much more political eventually, and there is much more world building in Hunger Games than Battle Royale, but Collins, really?
The bullshit is so stinky, Collins, that I can smell it here 8,000 kilometers from you. Or, she's American, so... 8,000 kilometers to miles. 4,970 miles from you. Collins, seriously, my dude, the bird signal was an overkill. It wasn't only in American pop culture that this type of Battle Royale story became popular. Obviously, Collins started the craze for dystopian stories in America, but Battle Royale became a genre of itself in at least manga and anime world.
In anime and manga realm, the genre of Battle Royale boomed around the same time Hunger Games came out. But in the anime, it took much more of a survivor horror gory route than the political dystopian one it did in the West. Eventually, the genre boomed in the second half of the 2000s and was still going strong until around 2015.
And I blame Isekai for it. Cause like you know how we have now Isekais on Isekais with Isekais sprinkled with Isekai on top. It seems like it started with Sword Art Online when it came out in like, what was it, 2013 or something like that? This is the day I mark as the end of Battle Royale and the start of people being vanished to become slime.
It's time to stop!
To be honest, I have no idea what's going on in this corner of the anime world. I don't think I've seen any isekais. I mean, the new isekais. If we're going to count isekais, people being vanished to another world, then Inuyasha or Fusigi Yugi is also an isekai, but the new genre of isekais, I have not seen that many of. I think I've seen only Sword Art Online, and not even the entire thing, because I might be a weeb, but I have that much self-respect left. Before all this vanishing though, the industry was kind of taken over by Battle Royales. Not to the extent that we can see now with isekais, but it was a very, very popular genre.
The most popular obviously would be Mirai Nikki, with our favorite yandere gal there. But there were also, for example, Deadman Wonderland, Liar Game or Osama Game, which all came out more or less around the same time.
As I said, most of those titles came out a few years after Battle Royale was published, and a few of them actually had quite a lot of hype around them, especially Mirai Nikki, like it was a huge hit. And Hunger Games was obviously a huge hit, especially in the western side of the world, but it all unfortunately slowly died down for some reason. In the West, I don't really know what took over that, but in Japan we started getting titles like Wataru, the hot-blooded fighting teen and his epic adventure after stopping a truck with his bare hands.
But now with this huge Battle Royale type show like Squid Game out, would it bring the revival of the genre? I honestly think that it will, in the survival version, not the dystopian one from the Hunger Games. Squid Game gave a breath of fresh air to quite an old type of story which has been done over and over again, which is not an easy task. The director and screenwriter of the show admitted he was inspired by Battle Royale, Collins, take note, and to anyone who knows both, it is really visible. He didn't take much of the minor elements from it though, only the essence of the story, and he gave it his own twist to it it, with the kids game and, spoiler alert, with the whole thing being just a leisure time for the bored rich people. The circumstances in which the characters of both stories ended up in this situation are completely different, and the characters too are treated differently. In Battle Royale we have bigger emphasis on the psychological state and the extreme environment they were put in, when in Squid Game we see more of the characters' motivations and reasons why they are there, and where are their boundaries when it comes to their greed and survival. And the rules in both are different as well, even though the core of the story is the same, where in Battle Royale it is more straightforward. Squid Game makes it much more twisted and interesting for today's audience.
The criticism on capitalism and growing gap between rich and the poor could slap you across the face, like you can't miss that. And I actually think this is the change that the genre needed in order to come back into popular culture.
I don't really think that after 20 years the original Battle Royale would be as shocking and new as it was when it came out. But Squid Game really renewed the genre and gave the story a deeper meaning as well. It makes it much more engaging than just people killing each other off to survive, because I think it stopped being shocking as it is. Now we need a bit more of a moral dilemma or social critique for any show to really stick. And good on Squid Game for bringing it to the table via a genre previously mostly focused on the entertainment and shock factor.
I'm really happy to see this Korean TV show being so popular outside of even like people who are interested in Korea or Korean pop culture. It's very rare for a media from Asia to be so mainstream. Even though anime and K-pop obviously are getting more and more popular these days, it was never as widely mainstream as Squid Game is right now. And I really hope this might become the beginning of this kind of already forgotten genre, because old things still work. You just need to put a new twist to it that's not vanishing people into another world so they could become a reindeer or whatever. What? I just really hope that we could come out of this Isekai craze already. Bring whatever you need, bring back the Battle Royale, I don't care. I just don't want people to get vanished anymore.